This one's for Devin and Chandler. All right, so I know that was a little bit of a different opening than usual, but just wanted to do that for Devin and Chandler and their families and the university and the team, just everyone. I know it's been tough, a little over a week for Dog Nation. John and I, John, we haven't talked,
Yes.
since either. And you go from like the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. I actually, like, I remember I woke up, I think I had a text from you about it. Is how I found out the day after the parade. So my heart goes out to the Willock and the LaCroix families. Just I don't know, it's a tough situation.
Yeah, seriously, man. It's a somber way to open up the season review, but it's one of those things where just hug your loved ones. You never know what's happening out there in the world, but hearts go out, prayers go out to those families, man. And frankly, there's still some folks struggling with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's her last name? Bowles.
Yeah. 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 Tori.
She's still she's still she's still got she still has some complications. I guess that's as much as I know.
Yeah, yeah, and I know. I mean, I'm sure it's tough on McClendon, on War McClendon. Being there and saw a pretty cool tribute. Looks like he's going to be wearing number 77 in tribute to Devin in the Senior Bowl, which is pretty cool that he's going to be doing that. So
that's got to be tough to process for everyone from going from such a high to hitting a low. And then, I mean, I feel super, super bad for him because, he walked away basically from that, right? Like,
yeah.
Relatively unscathed. Like it's a miracle based on all the descriptions. So
yeah, for sure.
Tough week.
Yeah, it has been. So I don't know. Definitely just wanted to open with that. And I think like it's one of those things where it's like, I won't say everyone, but I think it's a relatable thing. And I mean, many of us have lost people to car crashes. I know I have. It's something that has affected many of us. So it kind of hits different there. And when Kirby started posting the pictures the next day, and we had the picture of Andrew on Devin Willock's shoulders after the national championship, that one really got to me.
Yeah.
And you just we're seeing so many stories about both of them and their personalities. I know we saw the post about I like just hours before Devin was out to eat and was taking pictures with families and with the young man and everything. So had a lot ahead of him. Just hate it, sad situation. But yeah, heart goes out to everyone. So not the way we wanted to finish. It's so, I don't know. It's just tough. I don't even know what else to say about it.
Yeah, it's really tough. Just prayers for the families and prayers for swift resolutions as the investigations and things like that go into place, and where changes need to be made, make the change.
Yep, for sure. All right. Well, we're here to do the season review. One of the things, actually, let's see. So we've been a week off, right? We took a week off. We had a holiday long weekend last week. A lot of folks were out of school and work with Martin Luther King holiday last Monday.
Oh yeah.
I had my wedding anniversary, so we were out. We went out to eat. I think we were out for that last week. We weren't able to record, so coming back and now I don't know what all you guys have going on. I can't really remember.
You got your contract renewed. I like it.
Right. Yes, correct. Well said.
You get to keep your scholarship spot. That's awesome, man. Dude, in this day and age, like I applaud the anniversaries. I'm not a big birthday guy, but I'm a big anniversary guy. So whenever I hear it's someone's anniversary, I applaud that, because in this day and age, it's hard. Marriage is hard.
Yeah. 19 years. 19 years.
My man. And let me say, as someone that knows you two personally, that y'all are a match made in heaven. Not to get all sappy.
Love it. Thank you. I like that.
You had a good example too. Your parents are good examples.
Yeah, and it's funny because like our anniversaries are like like 5 days apart, 4 days apart. It's pretty funny. Yeah. So they just had 50. They just hit their 50th anniversary. So happy anniversary to Fripp Dog and Panda, as we call them on the show, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, I think I said it's Panda's famous marriage.
Yes. TM. Oh man,
that's awesome. Big 50. That's even better. Congrats. So for us, Carter traveled to Tennessee over that holiday break. We had his Olympic team played Kentucky, Tennessee. It was Kentucky and Tennessee. They played an older Tennessee team, so they played Tennessee twice. They beat the older. They beat everybody. It was just like football.
Right. Nice.
The Georgia boys, the 2011 Georgia boys went up to Tennessee and raised hell. I think the combined score was like 29-4 or something like that between the 3 games that he played. And then so that's what we did. And then I took my youngest with me. It was me, Carter, and my youngest, Camden. And then we went to Nashville and hung out and basically did a quick like whirlwind kind of tour stops. We drove through Vandy, which I had actually not done before, although I could be forgiven for it because literally you blink and the campus is by you.
Yeah.
Carter was unimpressed. I will say that. Carter was completely unimpressed with Vanderbilt, Tennessee in general. He was unimpressed.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I thought that he would have more interest in seeing Vanderbilt. I think we can quickly mark that off the potential landing spots for him.
Nice.
The Parthenon was really cool. I was super impressed with the Parthenon in Nashville, which you've never been. You should definitely go to. Pulled Dog Twitter, got some Nashville hot chicken, which was something that Carter really wanted to hit. He ended up not liking hot chicken like at all.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it is different. It's not, it's not buffalo.
It's not buffalo. It's not fried chicken. It's just hot chicken. I like it, but it was not his favorite. Then we went down to downtown Nashville and hung out for a little bit. So that was a little quasi family getaway.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah,
nice. That sounds fun. I've only been to Nashville for Georgia games. But the both times I went was in college, and I don't really remember a whole lot. We didn't really do much on campus. There wasn't a whole lot of tailgating. I remember that. I
would be curious to see, because you can literally see the stadium from the Parthenon building. So it's pretty close, I feel like, unless I'm just totally off on my geography there. But I feel like it would be a pretty solid tailgate spot, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was okay. I was not impressed. I was expecting it to be a little bit more than it was.
Gotcha.
It's not an Athens, Georgia gym. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. Well, now it's like, I don't know. Did you come across bachelorette parties? I don't know if you were there in the right dates, because there's not it's like bachelorette party capital of the world or something.
I was not. We were there. It was a Sunday.
Okay.
It was a Sunday afternoon. And it was a little rainy. So I did not see any bachelorettes. I was surprised. There was a ton of live music on Sunday afternoon.
Hmm.
So like my wife had said, you just walk down Broadway and, you can listen to live music out there, which was really cool. And I definitely would have soaked up more of that if I wasn't with the kids. Cause it was freezing, dude. It was so cold.
Yeah, Lily and I were out and about that day. I think Kim was out shopping with Ella, and I took Lily. We went into downtown Concord where we live, and we went to a place called the Basement. So it's like it's kind of like a retro style arcade where it's free play once you get in. So you have to pay to get in, and then you can just play unlimited. There's like pinball machines, and there's like of course I just wanted to play Galaga the whole time. But yeah, so we did that. So we were out and about the same day. It was freezing here too.
Yeah. It was windy and freezing.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun though.
Video games. Oh, dude, it was fun. We had a blast. Lily ended up like really being into pinball, which was kind of newer. She hasn't, so much always wanted to do that. And then she was like posted up at the Miss Pac-Man tabletop for a long time. That was her favorite, which was a staple of my youth as well. So
insert show plays a mean pinball.
Nice. I have to update the soundboard with that. I do. We've got some news and notes for the season review, so we can run through the players. For the seniors and super seniors leaving. So obviously, farewell to the mailman. His career, long and illustrious career has ended. He's leaving as the Manning Award winner. So wanted to get that in. I think that's like the only postseason award or that includes the postseason in the evaluation. So that was pretty cool to see Stetson walk away with that. Kenny McIntosh, Kearis Jackson, Warren Erickson, Warren McClendon, Nolan Smith. Let's see, Christopher Smith, Jack Pod, and
Robert Beal.
All are done with their careers. So
gone but not forgotten.
Gone but not forgotten. Keep your eyes peeled. I believe it looks like there is going to be a Kearis Jackson, the unofficial official wide receiver of My Guide Podcast video coming from our friend Chigga Trey at TT7 Productions. Keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll be sure to retweet it once that drops. We got a little teaser of that today. Underclassmen that are going into the draft, Darnell Washington, Broderick Jones, Jalen Carter, and Keely Ringo. So they are all going to the draft. For the transfer portal, okay, I've always felt like that this should be the sound of guys entering the portal. So we've got Dominic Blaylock has entered the transfer portal.
Is that the transfer portal noise?
Yes.
Is that from He-Man? That sounds like something from He-Man.
It is from He-Man. Watch out, John. I found the Hanna-Barbera sound library.
Oh, yes.
So sorry.
You need to like drop like some gummy bear noises for all these guys landing in different spots.
Yeah, it's very the library is very large, so I only have like two. But so I don't know if we even need to go through the whole thing. Obviously, the biggest one is AD Mitchell, which we never talked about it on here. I don't think, John, although we had heard about it. I'm sure everyone had heard about it. The Texas rumors were very lengthy. They had been around since December. I kept holding out hope that it wouldn't happen because, similar last year, we were hearing rumors about Darnell Washington, right? Like leading up to the playoff last year, we had heard Darnell was going to maybe transfer, and he ended up staying. So I was hopeful that there was nothing to the AD Mitchell rumors, but it turned out where there was smoke, there was fire. So unfortunately, we have to bid adieu and say farewell to AD Mitchell. He is now a Texas Longhorn, which stinks. I hate it. I know we had such high hopes for him. He was the one we talked about him so much. Season preview, you felt like he'd had his Devonta Smith moment in the Natty. Obviously the injury, really is what kind of foiled his season as far as like overall production. But then obviously came back and made a huge impact in the postseason. So we'll thank him for that. I hate that he left, but it kind of is what it is.
He is he's the wide receiver version of Stetson Bennett when it comes to clutch playoff performances. I don't know how much opportunity he's going to get to do that at Texas. But best of luck. I can't fault. I told everybody, like, basically wherever he goes, as long as he goes to Texas, he goes with my blessing. Anywhere else, and he's dead to me.
Right.
I'll never fault a person to leave a situation to go and be with their family.
Yeah.
But if you went anywhere else, literally anywhere else, I don't know that there's a single school on the planet that would be better set up to put up your numbers that you need to put up to get drafted highly in the NFL than the University of Georgia. I mean, we'll get to these stats and stuff. I mean, we had Stetson Bennett throw for over 4,000 yards.
Georgia's first ever 4,000-yard passer, by the way, Stetson Bennett.
So clearly we're not afraid to throw the ball.
We are not.
We've got allegedly better talent in the wing, waiting in the wings, from a evaluation standpoint. So I feel like those numbers are not going to go down too much.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's see. I'll run through the rest of the portal, folks. Brett Seither went to Georgia Tech. Tough one there, but I think he's trying to reunite with Buster Faulkner. So we have 3 tight ends transfer out, actually. So Seither, Rylan Goody. I don't have a Scott pronunciation. I've always wondered how to say his name. He hasn't found a destination yet. We've got Arique Gilbert is going to Nebraska. So is offensive lineman Jacob Hood and outside linebacker MJ Sherman. Bill Norton to Arizona. Jaheim Singletary, I don't think we have a landing spot yet for him. And then Tresman Marshall is transferring to Alabama. So 2 years in a row, we got a player leaving national champion Georgia and transferring to a smaller school to get more playing time in Alabama.
That one doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but whatever. This is the world that we live in right now, where you look at that list and you're like, oh my God, had this been like 10 years ago or whatever, like I would have been the sky is falling. Why are they leaving? Like, oh my gosh, what I mean?
Hardcore Munsoning over that.
Hardcore Munsoning.
Yep.
But Munsoning is dead, Jim.
That's a true statement. Now, unlike last year, we do have some transfers coming in. So we already knew about Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett kind of heading into the playoff because that came up during the early signing period. But now we also have Smoke Bowie. So
I would say
that's the sound when you transfer in from the portal, by the way, John. Sorry.
It's gonna be amazing. I don't know very many places where you can lose a couple of wide receivers that were, big factors, had big moments, but replace them with guys that were literally leaders in the SEC at their position.
Yeah.
That's a net win for us, in my opinion. Obviously, we had some negative publicity, although
with Ra. I think we're kind of in a wait and see. Always want to make sure that we get all the facts before we pass any judgment. So obviously, the arrest happened. Everyone knows about that. But let's wait and see, and let that play out before we make any rash judgments on that one. I always want to get the full story before we dive in there. So
for sure.
And then running it back. So yet again, every year with Kirby Smart, you get these guys that have decided to run it back and come back. So we've got, again, in that receiver room, you've got Ladd McConkey. And McConkey, he got on his donkey and he decided to come back for another year.
Of all the soundboard items.
Sorry. I couldn't resist. Scott, I'm not sure what that was all about in the national championship game. That's actually from the national championship game. If you haven't heard the hometown broadcast. So Ladd back, Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint coming back, which I think is huge. And the biggest of all, Cedric Van Pran coming back to anchor the offensive line is a huge, huge development, especially when you're breaking in a new quarterback. So
agreed. That's going to be, when you can have the middle taken care of, obviously that snap transition, they looked pretty good. Carson Beck looked really good, in the times that we saw. it does nothing but benefit the overall offense to have the cornerstone of the offensive line coming back.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that was it for the news and notes. So just so everyone's up to date on the roster and some of the goings on. Had a couple of things.
Ladd's also having surgery, right?
Oh, that is true. Oh, thank you, John. Yes, that's correct. Cleaning up something with his knee.
I imagine he's having arthroscopic surgery or whatever, like where they like fix the MCL or whatever.
Yeah. So I think that had kind of been bothering him all year. So
let's see what else we got. All the transfers, Ladd. Is there anybody else that's undergoing surgery or anything like that?
I haven't not that I can think of off the top of my head. I didn't have anything else jotted down there.
We'll have to ask the knowledge the knowledge panel.
We'll have to
put glasses on it.
We'll have to put glasses on. As I always like to do, John, I went back and listened, not to the whole thing, but to some of our season preview. Couple of things to call out. One, just like I'm not going to run through all of it, but one thing that we had talked about that we were not really like concerned, but just something to think about heading into the season was all the coaching turnover, right? So, we had turnover at defensive coordinator, defensive back, outside linebackers, wide receivers, offensive line coach, all that change. And to be able to weather that, and bring in some new coaches, others being elevated with promotions, like with Schumann and Muschamp, just amazing to culminate in a 15-0 season. And the one thing, John, like that you said, the only thing that you were potentially munching over was Stacey Searles. So that was actually brought up in the season preview episode. Your concern for Stacey Searles. So that started early. Which
yes, he figured it out.
Yes, for sure.
We've been over that. I think that they were posed in regards to their offensive line award, the Joe Moore award, the Moorhead award.
Yeah.
I think, which I believe was a contributing factor to Van Pran coming back. I think he was just he felt disrespected, and so he had to come back and correct that wrong. Stetson even said, on some of the interviews postseason so far, I think he was on. It was actually for the Manning Award, where he said that he had to give it up to his teammates all season long. He had been sacked like 5 or 6 times or something like that, or 9 times.
Yeah, it's crazy,
something stupid like that.
Yeah.
And then Archie Manning was like, "Well, I got you beat. I got sacked like 11 times in one game when he was playing." And Stetson was like, "Wow."
Amazing.
Speaking of the Manning Award, it's going to be interesting to see, because I was just curious, like, who all has won the Manning Award, because that's the best. That's allegedly like the best quarterback in the country, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the purpose of the award. Yeah, as judged by, and the Mannings all have a vote. I think it's a collection of media, but then also the Mannings have some sort of say in it.
Got it. Well, you look at all those guys that have won it. You got Matt Leinart, Vince Young, Jamarcus Russell, Matt Ryan, Tim Tebow, Robert Griffin, Johnny Manziel, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Deshaun Watson won it twice. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Mac Jones, Bryce Young, and Stetson Bennett. That is pretty elite company. As that projects to the NFL draft, like, I don't see too many 6th-round draft picks on that list, sir.
Yeah.
So and it'll be interesting to see, is he gonna buck that trend of, or that the going theory is that he's going to be like a 5th or 6th round pick, right?
Yeah, I'm curious to see if he ends up at the Senior Bowl or not, because it sounds like that's still up in the air. And so I read something about it today. I can't tell if the holdup is on the Senior Bowl side or if he's basically been invited and he's trying to decide if he's going to go. I couldn't get a good read on that, on what is actually going on there. That would be huge, because that, when you're at the Senior Bowl, I mean, that's like the number one postseason, game like that, where all teams are represented there. You got a big opportunity to showcase yourself there. So that'll be a big deal if he does end up at the Senior Bowl. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that.
And do they have to like decide, or like does he get invited?
Yeah, they have to invite him, and then he has to accept it. And so I don't know like what's going on right now, like whether he hasn't been invited or if he's been invited and hasn't accepted. I'm not sure. I
Interesting.
couldn't tell. It sounds like there's some sort of conversation going on with them right now.
Okay.
But I don't know. I guess while we're on Stetson, I had a couple of things to point out on some of his accomplishments over the season. So these first ones I got from John Frierson at GeorgiaDogs.com. So Stetson in the TCU win. So he set a school single season record for passes completed and 310, passes attempted 454, and passing yards 4,127. So those are all single season records at Georgia. His completion percentage this year of 68.28% is the best in program history. And his 4,332 yards of total offense this season are also the most in program history. So he's got the most passing yards and his total offense ever in a single season in program history. Couple of things I picked up on. He actually tied DJ Shockley for the most touchdowns accounted for in a single game with 6 touchdowns in a game. So Shockley did that against Boise State back in 2005. Yeah. I think he had like 5 passing and 1 rushing, and Stetson had 4 passing and 2 rushing. He also accounted for 37 touchdowns this season total. Stetson did. That ties Aaron Murray for second all time in a single season. Murray did that in 2011. Murray is also first from his 2012 season. He accounted for 39. So only 2 touchdowns behind Aaron Murray as far as touchdowns in a single season. And then
Aaron's gonna remind him of that.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah.
For the rest of time.
I do love that Aaron's like a big proponent of like Stetson's the GOAT. So I'm sure he'll be happy to still have at least some leverage over the GOAT.
Yeah, seriously. It's interesting how Aaron Murray has kind of evolved into like one of the Stetson's biggest cheerleaders.
Right.
I feel like that.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, maybe it's just me and my perception, but like, I feel like that he was a little kind of like us. Like he was a lot like us. And then at some point the light switched, and like, I don't know if he started like proactively seeking out that like consultation or whatever, but like,
right.
He was in the stands. He was in the streets, like cheering for him. So I applaud Aaron Murray for being a damn good dog. I applaud DJ Shockley, and then you had Matt Stafford afterwards in the national championship. Like it's good to see that fraternity of Georgia quarterbacks placing, bending the knee, so to speak.
Yes, for sure. The only other one I picked up is for career touchdowns. Stetson accounted for 80. So that puts him at 3rd all time, behind Aaron Murray. Again, is first with 137 career touchdowns.
Good gracious.
He finished 1 touchdown behind Jake Fromm. So Jake Fromm accounted for 81 touchdowns and Stetson accounted for 80. So I thought that was kind of funny. So, yep. So I don't know. So
that's only a handful of seasons too for Stetson.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's basically roughly like 2 seasons, kind of, maybe two and some change, because he wasn't the full-time starter, in 2020 or 2021. Right. But he got the extra games more there, but still, I mean, not even really a full 3 years.
Yeah, it would have been interesting if he could have played at that level for his entirety of his career or whatever. But he had some shoes to fill, which we've talked about this. But like, I think that we both kind of thought that at the beginning, like that's Fromm and this offense would have done really well. Like obviously Stetson made the best of his opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. I guess the only other thing I'll call out, we may have already kind of talked about this a little bit, but we did both pick Georgia to go 12-0 in the regular season. I thought that was kind of funny. When I listened back, I was kind of wavering about to say 11-1, and I basically said I was not superstitious, but a little stitious, and I felt like it'd be my fault if we lost again. I did so 12-0. And then you got the closest in the playoff. Your playoff that you went with was Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Michigan. So you only missed 1. I missed 2. I had the infamous Utah pick. They obviously didn't make it. So,
I mean, how many people had TCU in the playoff?
Yeah, there's no way anyone did. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Stats of War.
Mattress Mac.
Mattress Mac. Well played. Well played. I feel like I have now, I don't know, I guess I've kind of now like settled in. Like last time we talked, I kept being like, I still can't believe it. I can't believe it. I guess I can now. And like looking back, I don't know, I guess again, my whole thing is like on the macro level of like back to back, it's just so crazy to me that we were able to do that. But thinking about like, I guess we kind of predicted it. So like it was expected, but my entire life I've expected things out of Georgia football, and they didn't come to fruition. So these are, I don't know, high times for Georgia fans and the team, obviously. But
the times they are good.
Yeah. These are the good old days. These are the good old days. I mean, like, what do you? I don't know. I was debating if we want to pivot to the listener questions or just talk anything more just about the season in general. I don't know. Like, I'm kind of curious just around what does it mean? Like, what does this mean for the Georgia program going forward? Like where we're at and to be here? I don't know. Just any thoughts you have about that?
I guess I kind of liken it to like this will go out shout out to Hoops Mafia. This is kind of like the Taylor Swift breakout. This was kind of like the Taylor Swift breakout song. 2021 was kind of like Tim McGraw or whatever, and then she drops another hit. And then she drops another hit. It just feels like that we're like you can feel the ride down the mountain starting.
Yeah.
And obviously that first year was a big drop in terms of like fun. And then it's been even better. And then now you just have the snowball of it's just the economies of scale, like the compound interest that is the elite level recruiting that Kirby Smart has put forth.
Right.
We are reaping the rewards of what stellar and excellent and elite level roster management looks like, and a coach that has embraced a staff and a culture that understands how to maximize what it has out of its personnel, as well as how to find replacements for the holes that it creates in that talent. They have been able to dip into the portal when needed. Obviously that's something that's kind of like, we'll wait and see, but like, by and large, I don't think that there's an analyst out there that would tell you that we got weaker in the portal. The people that you're losing are not like just flat out like head scratchers. I think the only question mark might be AD Mitchell, but like I think there's extenuating circumstances there. But we replaced him with a better receiver by and large, statistically, two of them. So I mean, you're able to keep guys around. You've got true freshmen that were like shining on a national stage in the national championship final, like CFP final. It's just a ride down the mountain, and we're just rolling through the hits, man.
Yeah. No, I love it, and I think like one of the things you hit on in there was the culture that Kirby has created. I mean, these guys have so bought in to the entire idea of Georgia football and the pillars of Georgia football and the connection. I mean, something we didn't talk about, I don't know if you've seen this. This was definitely on I think on the SEC Inside. A couple of things I'd recommend for folks to watch if you haven't seen it yet. The SEC Inside, it was on both the Peach Bowl and the championship game, was excellent. It's just a 30-minute show. There's an ESPN Plus series like Inside the Playoff. I actually liked the SEC Inside one a little bit better, but I can't remember if this was from which one it was. But have you seen like Nolan Smith like literally had a composure card that he was holding during the Peach Bowl, and like when we fell behind Ohio State, Nolan Smith was like flashing he literally pulled out his composure card. It was like composure and like holding it up to other players, like to keep your composure. Is pretty funny. I loved it, but that's always one of the things that Kirby talked about. But and I mean, I feel like they like literally believe that they were doubted by everyone. Like we're hearing all the speeches and guys saying like you thought we were going to go 6-6 and things like that. Like I think there were clearly like individual games that some talking heads had picked Georgia to lose. People maybe didn't pick Georgia to go to the playoff. Clearly, no one picked Georgia to go like 6-6. But I mean, Kirby turned that into I think a big motivating factor for this team, and it worked. So when you've got bunch of individuals, like-minded and thinking towards the same goals and thinking the same way, it can pay dividends. So that culture is just a huge part of it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a culture of excellence. Like, I mean, some of the just little nuggets of things that I didn't know have come out recently, and unfortunately, some of the details are surrounded in the situation with Devin and Chandler. But like, I didn't know that until Kirby Smart came that we were carting recruits around in golf carts. When Kirby Smart came, they changed that to luxury SUVs. Like something as simple as that. So when they talk about being committed to winning and financially committed to winning are two different things. Like, that's one of the things that Kirby brought to the table was that financial commitment to his vision. And that vision is reaping the rewards because, not everybody can operate the copter 24/7. Not everybody can
right
afford to get the SUVs. So like all the money you donate, Hartman Fund guys and gals, all of the efforts that we as an entity in the state, we're all reaping the benefits of that.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome.
I'm trying to think. I guess like some. Are we about to go into listener questions?
We can do whatever, John. This is our podcast.
Well, I guess some questions that I had for you.
Okay.
Like, what do you like other than obviously winning the national championship? Like, what as you look back on like the regular season, like what was the highlight of? What was your high? What was your low? Like we always do that at the kitchen table. Like, what's your high? What's your low? Like, what was your high? Or maybe let's start. What was your low of the season, and then what was your high?
So the low. Okay, so I started to say like some point in the Missouri game, but I don't think that's actually true because we've talked about that. We talked about it a lot. Like it always felt like we were going to find a way in that game. There was no true despair. So I guess I would say it was CJ Stroud's last scramble in the Peach Bowl. When he made that run and we tackled him at like the 31-yard line, I thought it was over. I thought that was the game-winning play. And so I would say that moment right there, my heart sunk and I was like, oh my gosh. And like the thoughts started going through like, well, you know what? Like we won it all last year. We won the SEC championship. Like, Stetson did all that he could, like he led the fourth quarter comeback and, things like that start running through your mind. So I would say that like that, and that didn't last long, right? Because I will say like I came back up on the tackle for loss on the next play. I was like, wait a minute. There's hope. That made me feel a little bit better, but I would think that individual moment was my lowest. What about you?
So I'm going to redirect you. So that was, I'll allow it. This is let me put my sombrero on, kick back, like I'll allow it. But I said, what was your regular season? I know that.
I'm sorry.
I know the CFP was.
So I guess it was. I guess it has to be Missouri. It has to be
Missouri. Okay.
Okay. Let me pinpoint a specific moment in the Missouri game too. When their running back was like running down the middle of the field wide, like looked like he was going to have a breakaway touchdown. And then, and again, because I'm trying to kind of repeat what I did with my last answer that I answered it incorrectly, is that like, and then what brought me back up was seeing Malachi Starks run him down and make that tackle, which I think as far as regular season goes, that's probably the play of the regular season. Malachi Starks making that tackle.
I dare to say that Malachi hunted him down.
Oh, that was beautiful. That's beautiful.
Because he was like a cheetah on a gazelle.
Oh my gosh, he was. I mean, dude, he was like flying to track him down. So
yeah, I would agree. Yeah, those are good ones. I would say that like the low that I had was. It's not like necessarily one moment. If I had to pick one moment, it would probably be something to do with the Missouri game. That's a good one. That's a good one that you had. If you recall, like in the podcast, like I was always talking to like the statistics were pointing to the Ohio State game that I was afraid to play. Like my low was just watching that number just never change the entirety of the season and just being dreaded. I dreaded playing them. Like I did not want to play Ohio State.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, that
That
was a
was kind
theme
of the
throughout the pod. Like
lowest.
you mentioned it all throughout the season that was the team that concerned you.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I was worried about. I felt like that if there was a team that could beat us, it was Ohio State, and frankly, that played out. Although they had a lot of help from us.
Yeah, yeah,
But it was, yeah, I would say that was kind of the lowest I felt. And if I'm being honest, like I was definitely a little irritated and felt a little like I wouldn't say, I guess, disrespected or whatever when Tennessee overtook number one when I didn't feel like they deserved it. That was a little low point as well. But
yeah.
I'm just curious. You mentioned like the play of the season, so like that's a good one. I didn't think about like what my play of the season would have been. Stetson running for like what seemed like an eternity up the middle against Auburn.
That's
another great one.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I think for your other one was so I guess regular season, like what's the high, right? Like the highest point. And I mean, I think it's got to be that Tennessee game for me as far as regular season, especially where they were back, right? In their mind, they're back. All the Tennessee fans came out of the woodwork that had been in hiding since 1998. And we remembered what they were like for a week. And, and then like it also even kind of made it feel better afterwards. The fact that like, the rain came in and we didn't blow them out like we could have. And then they kept being like, oh, well, it's just the rain. Like it kind of that actually made it a little bit sweeter. But like, the Stetson touchdown in that game, the rushing touchdown, let McConkey wide open, the stadium just getting incredibly loud. So I'd go Tennessee. And also, shout out Will Kaplan. We had Raising Cane's that day. So
That's true. I would say that entire like day was the high for me. Like got to go, didn't go into the game, but obviously we were there. Like the memory that I have of Carter and his buddies just berating Tennessee fans after the game was also pretty sweet.
Yes.
Oh man. Yeah, that was the high. And then obviously game day, and it was kind of like a culmination of like all of the things that you enjoyed about Georgia football. Like we got to have the great tailgating, got to have the atmosphere of ESPN, got to have the atmosphere of a top 10 matchup. And, we spanked them. Got to have my kid there, like, and my neighbor came with this, and it was fun.
Yeah.
You were there.
I feel like I'm going to try to save a little face and say, John, obviously the high point was when we got to go to the game together with our wives. That was obviously the high point.
That was the best moment of my life. Jim,
don't sound too sarcastic. We did have a great day that day.
Blink twice if you need help.
Yeah. Good times.
That was fun. Lou trying to pull up on that Tech fan was also pretty funny.
Too good.
Let's see some other things. We did high low. We talked about the plays of the season. How about a surprise of the season?
There's a listener question I think about like surprise player.
All right. So that's surprise player. Was there a surprise in general that like maybe is outside of the player side of things? Like,
yeah, I would say like I think I guess another surprise.
It could be. It doesn't have to be Georgia related. It could be another team. Like,
well, I mean, the craziest thing I saw all season was the TCU when they ran the whole offense off the field and the special teams on the field for the buzzer beater field goal to beat Baylor. I mean, that was the craziest thing I saw all season that I can think of. Next to the Brock Bowers touchdown against Florida, maybe. So, I mean, that's that. I was going to say just like in general, just like on the schedule, I think like one of the things I want to stop doing is like looking at the schedule ahead of season and being like disappointed in certain things. Cause it's like back-to-back years, right? It's like, oh, the home schedule, this is bad. And it's like, last year it was like Arkansas came out of nowhere and was a huge home game. And then in Kentucky too. And then like this year, Tennessee, like we definitely didn't think game day was going to be in town for Georgia, Tennessee this year. So as we look at next year's home schedule, which again doesn't look, great. Let's see what happens. Let's let the season play out and we'll see what happens there. So
I agree. Surprise. I tell you what, I'm a big surprise that I've had is like how inept the University of Florida is. Sorry, Jim. How inept the University of Florida
yeah.
is.
Yes. Many L's.
I mean, what I expected a little bit more of a fight from them this season, but
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah, it was a good season.
Agreed. All right, why don't we go through the list of questions? There's some pretty good ones in here that get to some kind of macro or I don't know, some specific season stuff. And we'll go from there. And then if there's anything else we feel like we left out, we can hit those.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's see. First up, Scotty Brown. Stetson was obviously the offensive MVP. Was there a better unsung hero than Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint? He was a constant presence in the wide receiver room and made crucial catches in big spots. Seems like he never gets love. Love the pod. Go Dogs. So what do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I think that he had great moments. I think you could also make an argument for Kearis Jackson. You know, he had some pretty big plays as well.
Yeah.
Some clutch moments.
I think
who was it that came in for Tate Ratledge when he was hurt? Was it Truss? Was it Truss?
Well, no, Truss was there. I mean, it would have been Willock, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Devin, I'll say this while we're on that note. Again, I mentioned, watching a couple of things to watch. If you go back and watch that SEC Inside, Devin was in on all those huge plays at the end of the Peach Bowl. He was in at guard on the long touchdown to Arian Smith. He was in on the 2-point conversion. He was in on the touchdown pass to A.D. Mitchell. So yeah, I mean, because I know he had 2 starts this season, and I'm trying to think if there would have been anyone else playing in there back then, because we did do a bunch of moving around. But I think it would have been Devin. And I was just gonna say with Rosemy, he was one of the guys that like kind of preseason that I was looking for as far as like a feel good story, right? Like, I mean, he had the devastating ankle injury, in the Florida game in the COVID year. Trey had done like a nice like off-season video for Marcus on like, his kind of comeback and working out and everything. So he was the guy, another guy that unfortunately is in the portal. Don Blaylock, actually, again, like if you watch some kind of season highlight type stuff, he had like some big catches and some pretty big moments. Specifically, we talked about the Missouri game. Blaylock had a really big catch in traffic against Missouri, and had a really big catch against Ohio State as well. So I think Rosemy is a good one there, an unsung hero.
I think my vote still stands with Devin probably.
Yeah.
I don't think that we got to appreciate him as much as we probably could have, obviously for unfortunate reasons. And then I think Darnell was also another kind of unsung hero. Like, as much as like you may say that and you're like, nah, everybody respected that, but like he didn't put up the stats that Brock did. He didn't have end arounds like Brock did and all that kind of stuff. Like, he had some good catches. I think if we're all being honest, like he probably had a little bit of a disappointing season from a stats standpoint. Mm-hmm. So like, but as a extension of the offensive line and as a run blocker, he was huge.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good one.
Anyway,
all right. Let's see. James Lawson, 87. How much more broken would the rest of college football be if Georgia had done to Michigan what they did to TCU in the title game? So swap, same result, but it's Michigan, instead of Ohio State. I mean, I think everyone would be up in their feels. I
mean, we kind of did that last year, so I don't know.
Well, that is true. But if we had, if we were the Big Ten champs this year and beat both of them. Oh
yeah. That would have been amazing. Yeah. Honestly, that's what I wanted. I wanted my Michigan buddy and I were talking about, like, man, it would have been Michigan would have put up a bigger fight than this. I'm like, you guys lost.
Right. Yeah. You lost to them. Yeah. I mean, I do think people would be in their feels. I don't know how much of a difference it would make because of that fact. I mean, like, Michigan did lose to them. But to run through 2 Big Ten teams like that, I mean, it would have been the SEC definitely would have been touting it too, or at least our commissioner would have.
For sure. People, I think no matter what, people would have still been like, you guys shouldn't have been there. Ohio State should have won. Like,
right.
Whatever.
Right. Well, and we would have gotten the Michigan injury excuses, just like everyone, except theirs would have been their running back instead of a receiver. So that's
true. I don't know. Like, talking about the Ohio State thing just made me think of another like just wrinkle that's like totally unfair. Like nobody ever talks about the fact that Georgia, like whenever we talk about like in the annals of college football, like the 2012 was the year that Alabama, capped their back-to-back, right? They did it in 2011, 2012, right?
Yep.
Well, that 2012 game in the SEC championship, like we had them on the ropes, dude. We gave them all that they could handle. And it came down to us making a mistake at the very end.
Yeah.
And nobody talks about like, oh, you guys should have lost to Georgia. You guys should have lost to Georgia. Like nobody talks about it that way. Why is it that when they make a mistake that we have to accept that as it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, not to mention that we were without Marlon Brown, who was one of our best receivers that season, because he had gotten injured against Ole Miss. So take that, Alabama. They only beat us because we didn't have Marlon Brown. I think that's what we need to start saying.
and Chris Conley couldn't bat the ball down.
I can't fault Chris Conley for that. see the ball, catch the ball. You're like trained your whole life to do that. All right, let's go to Georgia. What does it say about Heisman voting now that Stetson won the Manning Award?
Heisman voting is a joke.
It is.
The Heisman Award is a complete travesty of college football. There's so much pressure applied to it, so much marketing, so much pageantry associated with it, and literally we are playing 2 additional games before it gets awarded. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I agree. It's silly.
Or three, right? They awarded before the conference championship, right? Or is it after? I can't remember.
It is after the conference championship game.
Okay.
Or conference championship weekend, I guess. Yeah, it is after that. But yeah, so you've got, and just the regional, we're in this, it's in this weird spot, right? Where like, college football was a regional sport and now it's trying to become a national sport, and like changing the postseason models, et cetera. But the Heisman is still regional. And you've got these like voters that are basically kind of like protecting their local guys and things like that. And when you look at those regional ballots, it's all very weird. So yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think it's silly. I think the two best players played in the Peach Bowl in Stetson Bennett and CJ Stroud. That's my opinion.
I agree.
All right. All school. Before I read your question, I just want to say thank you for retweeting and hitting us with the Punk Tactics video every single week. Got a kick out of that. I loved it. So he said, I was wondering what our offensive line will look like before the tragedy with Devin Willock. It has been a strength the last few years. Will it still be next year? Do you think the offensive line will affect who wins the quarterback job? If we need someone more mobile versus more pocket oriented? I think I can't remember when we got the Cedric Van Pran news as opposed to when we solicited for these questions. I think that made me feel a lot better. I would have felt better if we had either had Broderick Jones not leave early or Warren McClendon take advantage of a super senior year, which he didn't. But I think the offensive line might actually be pretty good next year. I actually don't think, I'll say it this way. Monken may want a mobile quarterback because he's gotten used to having one with Stetson, and maybe something like that. But I don't think we need it to say like mask poor offensive line play for what it's worth.
Yeah, I'm not super concerned about the offensive line, but I will await the rosters as they come out, because let me shoot, Tim. Like there could be guys that transfer in and out like between now and spring practice. But as it stands right now, I'm not super concerned about the offensive line. No,
you're right. There is another transfer window when guys can go into the portal after G-Day, just for what it's worth. All right, let's go to Dwight. Dwight, you should definitely go and support Bulldogs battling breast cancer. It's our buddy Dwight. Do you think therapy may be needed for Brett Thorson going to 2023? He may need some positive image building after the emotional scars left by Stetson. He needs to know his worth and that Dog Nation loves him. Hashtag hug a punter today. So I think Dwight was riffing off of the incredible video that Thorson tweeted out, where he basically put his face and Stetson's face over a video from Talladega Nights, I believe.
Where he was wanting to slingshot. He was wanting
yes,
Ricky Bobby to slingshot him. He's like, but if I do that,
then I don't win.
How am I going to win?
Yeah, I do. I love Thorson's attitude like all year with the Stetson Bennett, not like Australians, and all that kind of stuff. And then I'll say this: he shouldn't need it after the 75-yard punt that he had against Tennessee, flipped the field and led to the, I guess, what should have been a safety, but referees didn't call it one, and then led to Ladd McConkey touchdown. So I'm going to say no. But if he does need any therapy, My God, a Podcast is here for you, Brett. Let's talk to you through anything.
The officially unofficial punter of My God, a Podcast.
Absolutely. All right, Lula 34, and then we also got a similar question from Trent Thacker. Who is taking Kiera's place next season? For the podcast, not on the field. Are there any front runners yet for y'all? And Trent had actually sent in a suggestion for official wide receiver of My God, a Podcast now that Kearis is moving on to the NFL. Trent had actually recommended Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, who we talked about earlier. Let me see here. He had said, ever since his gruesome injury in the Florida game a few years back, I found myself rooting for him. Similar to Kearis, it felt like he's always under the radar, but has big play potential. His touchdown catch where he went up high under the crossbar against Tennessee this season was awesome. Also feels like he's been on the team for like 17 years now. So
I feel like he's been there forever.
I think Trent makes a good case. I don't know, is Ladd too big? Because, one of the things we haven't talked about a lot is the fact that the law firm has closed its doors with Stetson moving on. The law firm is no longer. And, so does Ladd need to be the unofficial official? Because he's not part of the law firm anymore because Bennett's gone. Ladd may be too big time.
Ladd, I think, is too obvious. Although at the time, Kearis was obvious.
So that's true.
when we did that.
That's true.
I don't know. I guess it depends on who the starter becomes, right? Like I could see a couple of law firm combinations there.
Well, man. So are you saying we need to pull for Brock Vandegrift so we can have Vandegrift and McConkey and associates?
I mean, Stockton is another good one too.
Stockton and McConkey, yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, Carson Beck just doesn't have a great law firm name. Sorry, Carson.
It's not a good. Although if you reverse it, McConkey and Beck, I can maybe see it.
I'll say this: if he had not gone into the portal, I think Blaylock would have been a leader there for me. Although he's in the portal, he has not yet emerged from the portal, so you never know.
Where's the noise? Where's the noise? Maybe he can emerge.
Okay. So he's in the portal, but we have not yet heard him emerge. So as of right now, he's kind of in there. He's hanging out. We'll see if he reemerges at Georgia. Oh, that'd be pretty amazing. Pulls a Robert Beal, goes, or Amarius Mims goes into the portal and comes back out at Georgia. I'd be all for that. So I think what I'm hearing is we need to table until we know the finalized roster because college football is crazy. I think.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to not look at the incoming guys and not root for the rah Tom. It's like
yeah.
But Marcus, Rosemy-Jacksaint, like that's
okay. We could say he's the leading. He's the leading candidate. He's leading right now. He's leading. But we reserve the right to establish an unofficial receiver in the fall. In the fall.
Yes.
Amazing. All right. Brett Building. Brett back-to-back Building, as he's now known on Twitter. What is your favorite GIF from this season? This is a tough one.
That was such a good question. Such a good question. I mean, I think for me, my favorite gift was Stetson with a cigar in his mouth, pointing at a championship belt. Which I don't know. What was the belt from? Like, what was that belt? Is it just like a belt they had, or like, does it have a meaning? Like, what was the belt for?
Oh yeah, we need the inside sources story on that. I actually don't know. Yeah, like who made that? Where did he get it from? I'm not sure.
Or was it Pastor Troy? Doesn't Pastor Troy have like a?
I mean, Pastor Troy is known for walking around belts. I don't know if he gave it to him, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. I don't know. We're gonna put some glasses on.
We'll put glasses on. There were some really good ones like right at the beginning of the season. You had the Stetson winking.
That's a classic.
You had Andrew Smart waving at the camera and then running away, like waggling his tongue everywhere. In the Oregon postgame interview, that was a good one. We had Kirby followed up FTMF with FDMF, the first down in the South Carolina on the turnover. That was a good one as well. He
also had the reeling it in gif.
Yeah. That was Tennessee, right? I think that was Tennessee.
I can't remember what that was from, but it was funny.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Stetson winking. I think it's only right for us both to pick a Stetson gif, an ode to the mailman.
An ode to the mailman. Yes. I made some fun ones. Like the gift that I made that's like totally unrelated to the games or whatever was like when the CFP, like when Tennessee got locked out of the college football playoff final, and I made the gif of The Godfather, where they close the door to the wife. She's out there outside looking in,
right?
And everybody's kissing the ring. So I made that one. I posted that on this thread. That was a fun one. I laughed out loud. Sometimes I just have ideas. Sometimes I just have ideas for like ways that I can just drop gifs in there outside of just the game,
right?
The ridiculous game stuff.
Right. Notice I did not put the Peloton Dennis Morton Stetson Bennett mashup. I didn't even put the My God Podcast logo on that one because that was like just a joke for me and Logan.
That was pretty funny though. I thought I appreciated it.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
I did also enjoy making the GIF of Kirby jumping and conjoined with the video of Dooley jumping.
Yep.
That was pretty fun. What was another one? Oh, finger guns. Lads finger guns was fun.
That was a good one. And that's one of the little inside baseball. That's one where you actually like texted me how much time was on the clock in the game when that happened to get a good screen rip of it.
I texted you a bunch of those. I haven't seen them.
They're in progress. They're actually, again, new computer. I guess I haven't said that on the podcast. I got a new computer after the season. I was actually this is how weird I am. I've needed a new computer for a while. John, you know this, as my computer like literally crashed one time while we were recording, my old one. And I was like, I didn't want to throw off the mojo in the middle of the season. So I waited.
It would have been your fault.
It would have been my fault. I'm weird. So too funny. I'll get them out. I actually have the video on my computer for those. I just need to convert them into GIFs.
Another fun one that I had making was I made a law firm GIF, the McConkey and Bennett one.
Oh, that's right.
I made it at the very end. I don't know that I haven't even used it more than once, but it was under. We should have had that. I should have had that idea earlier.
That's okay. Okay, but see, final answer though is the Stetson cigar in the belt.
Final favorite. Answer is that was my favorite one.
Okay. Fair.
When Trigger Trey goes, that gif hard AF.
Yeah, it's true.
Although speaking of Trigger Trey, one of my favorite gifs that we used all season long was the White Men Are Dangerous with Trigger Trey's logo.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Which I don't know. In case anyone doesn't follow Trey, there's a scene. What is it? It's Pocahontas, right? So I think it's
Pocahontas. Yeah.
There's a scene in Pocahontas where like the chief comes out and announces these white men are dangerous, and Trey posts that video, and then like tags like Stetson and Brock and McConkey.
he posts pictures of their ESPN like player card or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's in his defense, like his video is way more funny because like you get the full effect. These white men are dangerous, and then he enunciates, "No one is to go near them."
Yes. Oh man, yeah, it's so good. The first time he like texted that to us, I was like I couldn't handle it.
So funny, so funny.
All right. Okay, this one was tough, and I did some looking up on it. So Fletcher Proctor. I've heard Gunnar Stockton compared to Connor Shaw, which would be a great player on Georgia. Who would you draw a comparison for Brock Vandagriff or Carson Beck? I was struggling on this. So I found some other folks who had comparisons for them, unless you've got anything, John, for someone you'd compare to. But I did a little bit of research on this.
I'll let you answer then because I was not a good researcher on this question.
Okay, so I actually found like on the 24/7 Sports Composite, they have like, where they've got all the star ratings and everything. They actually have like a write up on everybody in a comparison. So for Brock, they had Jarrett Stidham, which I thought was interesting. He's a little bit of a bigger guy. He can run and throw. So I feel like that was an okay one. The next one, I'm not sure how big on this one I am, is so for Beck, they had again, I need a pronunciation guide. Deshaun Kaiser, former Notre Dame quarterback. That hit for Beck. I feel like there's got to be a better comparison than Kaiser for Beck. I was trying to figure Fletcher gave Shaw in a non-Georgia quarterback. I was trying to like make a Georgia quarterback comparison to these guys, and actually couldn't come up with a good one. Because like. Brock, huge arm, cannon. He can run. We've seen him run as well. He can move around in the pocket. But I don't know. I feel like usually for Georgia, when we've had like big, tall guys, I think of like an Eason, right? Who didn't move, like Eason didn't run a lot. So I couldn't think of a good Georgia comparison really for either of them. Beck, I feel like Eason isn't terrible for Beck. He doesn't have quite the cannon of Eason, and he's not as tall. But he is a guy that's, I think, is a little bit more pocket. I would say he can run better. I think he's a better runner than Eason. Beck is, from what I've seen at least. We've had him run some zone reads. But so those are the guys I found online from 24/7. But nothing really came to mind. Which maybe that's good. We can just let them be their own guy. Let them be their own player.
So, truth be told, I didn't have a good answer on this one. I've seen Brock Vandagriff compared to Joe Burrow.
I like that. I'd be good if him to show like that.
As far as Carson Beck, I don't know. I don't have anything for Carson Beck offhand. I guess I just haven't really seen enough of him, right? I haven't really seen these guys to really like. Is Beck mobile at all, or
is he mobile? We've seen him take off and run a little bit. That's where I'm saying he's not. I would say he's not Stetson, but he's not. I wouldn't put him so much like Eason either, because I feel like Eason. I don't know. Maybe I don't think this is right either. I'll say what I was going to say, like a right-handed David Green.
Oh, okay.
I'd be okay with that if that comes to fruition, but I'm not sure because Green, like you wouldn't think of him as a runner, but he scored some rushing touchdowns. He could run a quarterback draw.
Okay, here's a Sports Illustrated comparison saying from Mr. Brooks Austin saying that Carson Beck looks a lot like Jake Fromm.
Interesting. I think isn't he? I feel like he's a little bit taller than Fromm. Probably not a lot, but
I don't know. How tall is Carson Beck? Let's see. He's 6'4". So I think that's solidly a couple of inches taller than Jake Fromm, right?
Yeah, Jake's 6'1" at best.
Right? 6'2". I was
Jake?
right. A couple of inches.
I feel like that's generous, but that's okay. Not that I can talk. I'm like, I say that I'm 5'7".
I read it on the internet.
Yes, it must be true. It's true. Hey, I'd be all for that.
I believe this is from Wikipedia.
Okay. Well, while we're on Fletcher's question, and we're about to get a question from UG Who's Mafia, we'll give the Georgia Basketball Minute. So
They're looking good, right? Still looking good.
Yeah. I mean, the unfortunate thing is, we dropped our first home game of the season over the weekend against Vanderbilt, but it was a very tightly contested game. I will say aided by the officials. There was some kind of a really tough call late. Mike White also got a technical, but because he was mad about something. So, anyways, 2-point loss to Vanderbilt, so that one hurt. Lost on the road at Kentucky, actually on my anniversary, which I was kind of surprised by because we actually won at Rupp Arena on the day Kim and I got married, and I thought it was like omens, and we're gonna beat them. We were playing there on our anniversary, and we had the halftime lead and everything, but it didn't work out in the second half. But I'll say Georgia basketball is playing very good. I don't know, Fletcher, if you want to hear this, but I'll say they've exceeded my expectations in year one under Mike White, and they're fun to watch. Like early in the season, I think the first time I watched them it was kind of hard to watch. They were still like meshing, a lot of transfers, a lot of new faces. I think they were still learning how to play together, but now, they are a cohesive unit, which is more than can be said about the Tom Green coached teams. So, I've got to figure out. I want to make it to a game. I was texting with Matt Moore recently, trying to figure that out if we could go to a game this season. So JP, I'll let you know if we end up making that happen, and may make a trek to Athens for a basketball game this season.
Well, need to make that sooner than later because things are only going to get crazier from here for after January 30th. Full blown soccer season starts back up.
Fair enough. All right, let's see. UGA Who's Mafia was the game at USC Junior. He said was the game at USC Junior the best stadium emptying in Georgia history. Even in 2017 at Tennessee, the 1998 fans didn't start leaving in the second quarter like USC Junior fans did. It may have been. It emptied out in a hurry. Sandstorm, was not bumping like it was pregame. The towels were not being waved. And then like with the insult to injury with the late touchdown pass from Carson Beck to Oscar Delp was just icing on the cake for me in that game. So yeah, I honestly, I think it may be. I think you've got a good point there. With John, I think UGA Hoops Mafia shares your hatred for South Carolina, by the way.
Gaffney, South Carolina is the worst place on earth.
All right. So this is the surprise one I mentioned earlier. So Brian Michelis, who is y'all's biggest surprise player of the year? He has two questions. So let's start with that one. I've got one. If you need to think, biggest surprise player of the year.
Javon Bullard.
Oh my gosh. Ding, ding, ding. On my kind of podcast, we agree.
There's no notes for that at all.
Yeah.
I came up with that one all on my own.
Yeah. Again, like listening back to the preview, like I said, I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I listened to a decent amount of it. I don't think we mentioned him. And, Alabama, Ohio State, they're not the only teams with attrition. William Poole was kind of slotted in there preseason and early in the season there at the star position. And, we also lost Dan Jackson to injury. And I think Bullard stepped up in a big way, and certainly didn't see him being defensive MVP of multiple postseason games. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, seriously, that's my vote for sure.
Okay, all right, we agree, and did not plan that. All right, okay. Then his second question was, at what point in the season did y'all think we can win it all?
Probably when we beat the piss out of Tennessee.
Yeah,
because at that point, like the comparison that I had for Tennessee was Ohio State, and I figured like, well, if we could do this to Tennessee, then that means that we could probably hang with Ohio State. That's when I started like not quite worrying as much, but like still, I wasn't superstitious. I was just a little stitious.
Right.
But yeah, that was that was the moment for me when I saw that we were able to do that against that type of offense.
Yeah.
That was my moment.
Okay. For me, it was January 10th, 2022.
Nice.
When we got over the hump against Alabama, I knew. No. Honestly, though, that was my joking answer. My serious answer is even still way before. I mean, when we came out of the gates and blew the doors off Oregon, I was like, okay, this is real. Like, this could actually happen. To see us come out of the gates like that, and like, Stiquavius, the introduction of Stiquavius. We've got true freshmen out there like Malachi Starks. I thought of them. Obviously there were some ups and downs throughout the season, but to me, it's actually Oregon. So, and Brian just closed out with thanks and love the podcast. He said, and P.S., how about an occasional show during the off season on bourbon? I think we'd get mixed reviews on if we did that or not, but I guess the folks that like bourbon could listen and not everyone would have to. So
I have a feeling it would be more popular than you think.
Okay. Duly noted.
But we do have some ideas in the chamber, some things coming down the pipeline for you.
We do. Absolutely. Yes. There's more coming.
Some fun stuff.
Some fun stuff for sure. More coming this offseason. Awesome. All right. Let me just take a quick moment to remind everyone that season 3 of My Guided Podcast is presented by Oxia Time. Like I mentioned, got to meet up with John Canaris in person at the championship game against TCU. It was a great time. Be sure to go check out the entire new watch collection. So there are multiple 2022 watches that are out now. And if you order before the end of the month, you get 10% off. You don't even have to enter a code or anything. So just head out there to oxiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. Like I said, no code needed, 10% off if you pre-order any of the watches for 2022 championship season by January 31st. And then, as we mentioned before, you can always head over to the collegefootballplayoff.com if you want to check out the blackout watch. So that one is exclusively sold through the College Football Playoff. So yeah, be sure to check them out. And thanks so much to John and Oxia Time for being the presenting sponsor for season 3. All right, John, one last thing. We've got all of our questions in, but we do have
put glasses on.
The final results are in. I tallied and reviewed with Coach Trillbill to make sure he was cool with it. The season predictions. So no new coaches over-unders or anything but just wanted to give the final results. And so I won't beat around the bush. I'll just get to it. John, you were able to maintain your lead, and you have hung on and won Coach Trillbill's over-unders for the season. So
like a shanked field goal.
So we for our season previews, there are a bunch of questions, and the funny thing is, as I was going through it, somehow I failed to even ask some of them. I don't remember doing that on purpose. I probably just messed up. So for the season predictions, you actually went 10-8, where I was an even 9-9, went 500. So that left you at 88-50 on the season for all of them, and I was 83-55. So we're both well above 500. But you hung on. So way to go, John. Way to go.
I extended my lead.
You did.
Ever so slightly.
I'll say some of his lines were actually pretty spot on. Let's see. Okay, you know what? There's several that are really good, but there's one that I have to call out. In the miscellaneous category, Coach set the over/under of game day regular season appearances at 1. So he did not do a half. He did an actual 1, and you pushed on 1, and you got it right.
Yes.
So yes. I took the over, and that was incorrect. I think that was my favorite one for all of them. That was incredible. But I will say, okay, so this one was good. For points per game in the defense, his over/under was 15.5. We both said over that Georgia was going to allow more than 15.5. Georgia only allowed 14.26 points per game on defense, which is pretty crazy. But a heck of a line set there by Coach. So shout out there, Coach.
Crazy. Another kind of fun line was the defensive touchdowns.
Yeah.
Zero. Is that right? Is that right?
I mean, we had special teams. But yeah, I went through the statistics. I didn't see any defensive touchdowns by Georgia this season. Pretty crazy. Whereas last year we had like all the pick sixes.
We didn't have a single pick six all season.
Not if. And so what I did for that, I went to the individual defensive statistics, and yeah, no one had a touchdown.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks to Coach. For tracking them for us all season. Been a blast. Added a new element to the show. I think this year we did them last year, but it was with no consequence. And having, not that it was for, it was for pride. It was for.
Do I get a coach's like trophy now? Like do I have like a coachy?
Yeah. I don't know, Coach. What does John win? What does John win? We didn't discuss anything. We'll have to figure that out.
I'm like imagining like the character that he's created, like a Bill Belichick like statue with a backward hat, 3D printed. Oh, love it. That's funny.
It. Awesome. What a season, dude. I love, and we're an audio medium, but John has the last two Natty logos as his background that I've been getting to look at those the entire recording. It's pretty cool.
Ooh, that was fun. The designer of those logos surfaced this week as well. Although I guess he's always been there, but like I don't know how I found. Oh, it was Hunter. Hunter retweeted it or something. I don't know how Hunter found it. Leave it to Hunter to find the designers.
Right. Yeah. So now the old logos have shown up, right?
Yeah, dude. Like we need to get some old logos in here. I need to get all 4 logos on my background next year. That was it 40? Is it 42, right?
Is it 42 or is it 46? Because I get them backwards. The reason I get them backwards is because one of them is one that a lot of people argue that we should claim. Yeah, it was 42. Sorry, it's 42. You're right.
That logo that he did for that one is just chef's kiss. Like,
because that was a Rose Bowl. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's got the trophy with the roses in it and the OG Block G.
Yeah.
Like that is just perfect. They need to make more merchandise with that one on it. I think that would sell good amongst the uniform Twitter.
Yeah, I agree. It was funny when like that graphic came out and showed up with like the 4 logos next to each other. I was like, and a lot of people asked like, where did the 1980 and 1942 logo come from? Like people were like, were those always around and we just didn't know them? But we found out from what we were talking about that it was that those were confirmed designed recently.
Yeah, they're re-envisioned or reimagined. Because back then you didn't make things. They were like, nobody has time for that. We're in the middle of a war or whatever.
True, for sure. All right, I was. Did I not write it down? Okay, I wanted to give credit. It's Chad Moorhead. Is who designed?
Yeah, Moorhead. Yep.
Yeah, Chad. So Chad went out and he is the designer of all 4 of the national championship logos. So
super cool.
I will say, since you mentioned it, like I know personally, I actually haven't bought any Natty merch yet. Have you?
I have. I am currently waiting on.
That's right,
Jason. If your daughter can help me get my order, I'm waiting on my onward reserve. Who's also a sponsor of Bobby now, apparently.
Right. Yes.
Not a sponsor of My God a Podcast, although I guess we should talk to her to change that up.
Oh, too funny. Yeah,
I've bought enough on reserve the last couple of months that maybe it's warranted.
Yeah, like last year, I got all the on-field stuff. I think I'm gonna get the hat. I'm gonna get the locker room hat or whatever. But the T-shirt, I just can't. I can't stomach the T-shirt. I don't know what game recognized fame exactly what was going on with that. But
the font, the design.
I guess it was kind of like old Western Hollywood, like old Western movies or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get that, but I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird. So
it was definitely ill-advised.
Yeah. So,
which is probably why you're able to get half off of the hats, because nobody's buying the shirts, nobody's buying the hats. Like,
yeah,
apparently, because the hats are not that fantastic either. So that's why, like, when I don't know, I'm just like, can I get high res images of these things and just make my own stuff? Because like literally nobody's making it.
Right. Well, I am, I'm wearing my homemade Kirby sweatshirt as we're recording tonight. So, I've
seen a lot of folks buying bootleg Stetson Bennett sweatshirts too.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, dude, the bots are like super annoying about that, by the way. Like
annoying.
they get in like any Kirby tweet, any Georgia football tweet, the bots are in the replies, trying to sell them dogs as hell. That was a heck of a sweatshirt that Stetson was wearing. And I guess we're far enough removed and no one even mentioned it about like, Stetson post parade. I think I was kind of glad that no one asked that. I will say, go read his comments on in accepting the Manning Award. He had some good things to say about Georgia fans and Bulldog Nation. So, don't worry. Stetson does love us.
I mean, if you think that he didn't, like, I don't know what to tell you, but like, the guy was processing a lot at that moment in time. Not to mention he was processing a lot of alcohol.
I think so.
As Stetson is wont to do.
Right. Did he have a bottle of Pappy? Do we know? We didn't see any pictures.
So I read somewhere that whoever, like the family friend that got him the bottle last year, like got the bottle this year.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any photos of it though. So
okay, maybe it's more behind closed doors type thing. This go around.
Perhaps. Maybe it's just a stadium layout situation. I don't know. SoFi was apparently laid out in such a complicated manner that you couldn't even make it down to the stadium. So I'm sure they couldn't even find him. Like I'm sure they got lost.
Fair enough. Makes sense. All right, man. You got anything else?
Man, what a season! Thanks for riding in the wave with us, everyone. Thanks for riding the train off the rails as we tend to do. But it was worth the ride.
Absolutely. And I guess we'll just add, we tease it, but definitely stay tuned. We've got some ideas and some things to do, during this off season. So be on the lookout for more, content from us during the off season. We'll definitely do some victory lap type stuff like we did last year, but we've got a couple other ideas that we think would be fun as well.
Absolutely. Well,
dude, 15-0, first ever. With this team, this team made history. First ever back-to-back college football playoff national champions. Longest. We're in the midst of the tied for the longest winning streak in the history of Georgia football. These are the good old days.
We passed Tennessee on the all-time wins.
Yep.
Man, are you sure? Like Alabama did this first, Jim. Alabama did this.
We copied them for everything, right?
We copied Alabama. Like I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but like somewhere in the annals of time, Alabama went 15-0, and they did it first. Jim.
Hey, no one has won 3 in a row in the modern era. And shout out Logan Booker. I heard on 960 earlier this week. I think Minnesota claims it to have done 3 in a row, but it was in like the 20s. And like the third one they claim was like the first ever AP poll. So we're talking a long time ago. So let's keep this thing going and let's make some more history.
I'm having to dust off that statistic, man. That's ridiculous. Gotta go all the way back to the 20s. It's like Georgia Tech. If you go to dear listener, go to the Georgia Tech's Twitter profile and look at their profile on Twitter to see what they're claiming. Like, good gracious alive. So here's the thing, Jim. I want to spike the football, and so we might as well go ahead and get that journey going.
Love it. Let's do it.
And with that, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.